Howdy, and welcome to the panel?
RPG the round podcasting.
RPG podcasting at SoonerCon. Is everyone having a good time at SoonerCon this week?
Yay!
Excellent. Well, my name is Michael Cross. I play Gaz, the Orc Barbarian. Let's go to the left and say who you are and who you play.
That's all out of order. That's going to make me confusing.
That is. Oh, wait, I can go in order. Here we go.
All right, I'm Konnor Shenold. I play Konnor with a K.
I'm Johnny Payne. I play Zonimus Dinar.
I'm Kieran Hester, and I play Poppy Tea Leaf.
I'm Brooke Bullock, and I play Mokrin Stoneshaper.
And I'm Ash King, your dungeon master.
And we are, again, recording this for posterity. We will actually have this on our podcast feed. And so anybody who downloads right now, go to your phone. And
Right now.
download
Well, wait. That's what you should have been doing while you were hooking
Red
everything
Dirt
up.
DnD.
I know.
If you haven't heard, Red Dirt DnD is an actual play Dungeons & Dragons podcast, 5th edition, and it has music and sound effects like a classic radio show. If any of you remember Prairie Home Companion or any of your old shows like Flash Gordon or Lone Ranger. It's the exact same thing. And we are a Wild West setting, but it still is a fantasy, things like orcs and elves, but we also have 6-shooters and hunting rifles.
Steam engines.
And dragons. You can't go wrong with dragons.
No.
So, Ash, let's go ahead and start with you. Tell us about how you came up with Red Dirt D&D.
So, long time ago, in the wild year of 2019.
The before times.
The before times.
Do not get stepped on by a dinosaur.
In December of 2019, I basically got together with you, Mr. Cross. I said, Mr. Cross, it is time for us to form a dark alliance. For you, Mr. Cross, are a wizard when it comes to audio technology. You understand how to make microphones go. And I am creative.
I am not.
I am creative, and I have the power and the ability to create a completely original, 100% inspired, of course, by the tropes of the Old West and of fantasy. I have the desire to create my own world. Let us come together in a dark alliance and put something out into the world that we want to see exist in the world. And luckily enough, Michael said, yes, I agree to this pact. If you didn't know, I am his warlock patron.
Yes, she is my warlock. They are my warlock patron, yes.
And that's basically how it started. So December 2019, we started talking and basically said, it's time to get together to make a D&D podcast. And then we started looking at auditioning. Because the goal of our D&D podcast, basically the thing that I said to Mr. Cross was, I want to tell good stories. I want to tell good stories, because you can tell great stories with Dungeons and Dragons. It is a storytelling medium. And so that's what we came at it at, was we told all of these people, we are using Dungeons and Dragons as a storytelling vehicle. And we were asking ourselves, what kind of stories can you tell with D&D? Because that's what you have to do when you're running a D&D podcast. It's a completely different style of writing and running than when you're just playing your normal game of D&D at home. Because when we're playing at home, we just have to worry about these 6 people. Right. When you're doing a podcast, how many people are in this room? A good 20, 30 people? Yeah, I got to worry about all you guys, because you're the ones who are listening to me.
Are you saying for the first time ever, I'm not the problem?
No, you're not the problem.
Yay, 2 guys.
You're just one of the problems.
It's just one of them.
Yet.
But yeah, so we and that's how we approached it. That's how we came at it. So we basically said, we're running a theater troupe. That we were going to do auditions in February of 2020.
Oh yes, February of 2020, the last decent month of the until March 13th of 2020. We were all good. Yeah, Friday the 13th, it all went to poop.
And then the lockdowns.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were all set to go. We had basically put out a call on Facebook and said, "Hey guys, we're planning to do a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. We are looking for people who understand the concepts of D&D, but we also want people who know how to improv and how to act and how to use their voices and use their words and descriptions in order to, again, give the best performance for the audience." And these 6 people, we had 12 people who...
We're 12 people all together.
Initially, basically, were like, yeah, we're crazy enough to sign up for this. And we were like, great, okay, we're going to do an audition. So we got together as soon as the lockdowns lifted in April of 2020. We got these people together and ran them through an audition, which consisted of make me a character. We're going to play some D&D and we're going to record you. And we're going to listen to how you sound and how you perform. And, we got these 3 fantastic people out of a pool of 12.
Yeah, so let's go down, start with Johnny down there. Johnny, tell us who you are and a little bit of your background and your character that you play.
They called and offered me the part, and I said no. And then they used really strong language, and they showed up at my house.
Check to make sure your mic's on.
My mic says on. It's always me, Michael.
I know.
It's always me.
And that's the other thing about podcasting, technical difficulties.
Crazy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what's wrong with that microphone.
So Brooke and I are sharing again.
No.
What was the question, Michael Cross? Johnny Payne. I play Zonimus Dinar. How did I get here? It's been a long road. I started off as a rogue.
Yes.
Spoilers.
Such an adorable little
I'm still Zonimus. I'm still adorable. I'm just not a rogue anymore. That was great fun. I remember coming in to the audition, and there were some caught off guard moments. I've done a lot of theater, and so those auditions definitely vary from playing D&D because you don't have a script to go off of. None of this is scripted, believe it or not. You have no script to go off of or anything. Total 100% improv skills, and then something will just click, and you'll start feeding off of the other people at the table, and go, Michael.
Keep talking. Keep talking.
I'm talking. I'm making you have to edit a whole lot out of the recording by doing this. He's not going to edit a thing. We can cuss. No, okay. So where was I? Yeah, it was great. It was a fun process. Got the call. Was happy to do it. Here I am, and I don't remember the question.
Tell us about your character. That's it.
My character. So yeah, his backstory is really interesting. He's tied into spoilers. You've had time. He's what? Oh, you're all no.
All these, I'm always waiting to see if you're going to let something slip that we haven't heard about at the table yet.
Like say. A sister?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, he has a tie-in to one of the main villains of the story. They are former lovers, and now I don't know if they hate each other. One of them hates the other.
Complicated exes.
I'm not going to say.
Love are very. There's 2 sides.
It's
to
Facebook
I'm just going to say this. One of us hates the other.
complicated.
One of us loves the other, and we're both extremely passionate about it. So there's that. Yes, I hate him. What happened next? I left home and had the life of a rogue thrust up on me. Zonimus did. He did. Because some bad things went down at home that you don't even know about maybe yet, involving the sister and father. and such. And so, he turned to a life of crime because it was easier to survive that way. He met up with these fine people after he was double-crossed by the main antagonist of the story. Wanted to change his ways, met up with a god who said, hey, you do me some favors, I'll do you some favors, and bestowed some powers on me, and I became a little bit of a warlock rogue at that time. At which point I felt like my god betrayed me very much. I'll let Michael talk more about how that betrayal may have went down.
If we went into the spoilers, yeah.
Yeah. We're in spoiler territory. And so now I'm on a different path that I won't spoil, that I will let Zonymous is on a different path that I'll let you find out through discovery of listening to the podcast yourself. But it's been fun. Lots of character growth. These people, because they're also storytellers, great at improv, great at feeding off of each other, it makes it easy to tell your story. Even if you don't have one, you'll see it start to come to life through the other people at the table with you, and you'll start, seeds will get planted, and you start tending that garden, and next thing you know, it's just amazing stories all together from each one of us, plus the overall story. It's good stuff. I'm enjoying it.
Brooke? Grab that other microphone, the one that try that out. I want to see if that works.
Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, okay,
5,
good.
6, 7,
Yeah.
8, 9, 10. Sorcerer magic right here. Or maybe it was down. No, you already got your
shiny one. You got to turn it on now. Okay.
Okay, Brooke, tell us about yourself and the character you play.
Brooke Bullock, and the room of 12 that was doing the auditions was an incredible group of talented people. They really, really were. And so I was feeling the nerves for sure because, just an English teacher, so to speak, right? Like I entertain 180 kids, but that was it. So once the game started, the small session that we had, we had broken up into 2 groups of 6 started. I just thought, I'm going to be just like it is at the table, just like you guys should be at your table. Just go for it, right? Just forget about embarrassment and just throw the energy into the room. I think it paid off, I guess.
Oh, yes,
in spades.
You did embarrass yourself.
I did, totally. So Makrin was originally Russian. Makrin was Russian dwarf to begin. And I just went with it. I just threw it on there.
We might have to release some of the audition audio just to prove it. Patreon exclusive original audition audio from Red Dirt DnD.
So during the audition, Zonymous was like all uppity and happy unless you weren't looking at him. Then he was kind of sad. And then day one of recording, it's like, we're all from basically the Old West. And I was like, oh, hell, I got to start talking differently.
Ash contacted me afterwards and was like, we really loved Makrin, but, and I was like, oh yeah, here it comes. And she goes, can he not be Russian and not be Scottish? Can he be Old West? And I was like, well, of course he can. And again, just embarrass yourself at the table because hopefully you're among friends, and that's what makes it work. Makrin is a sorcerer. My dice have told Makrin's story in that
they do.
If
they
you know
really
the
do.
mashed potatoes moment from episode 6, that's where it started,
Mashed
boom,
potatoes.
Natural 1, right? And he was going to do this athletic, awesome thing where he's going to run across the dinner table.
The game would have ended right there if he'd have rolled successfully.
Yeah. I mean, we would have possibly taken out who has become, the medium to big bad guy. And mashed potatoes, natural 1, boom.
Okay.
Flat. Kiri, go.
Hi, I'm Kiri Hester, and I am also an English teacher. I think we tell a lot of stories, read a lot of stories, so we come into that. I signed up before I sent my thing in, my audition, my resume, if you will. My only theater background being the 2 musicals I did in high school. I didn't say they were in high school. I'm not saying my resume was deceptive, but I at least rolled a 15. On that
We believed her.
So I come in, and on the day of the audition, I had only been playing D&D for about 6 months. I had everything I knew about D&D I had learned from College Humor's Dimension 20, Critical Role, and Not Another D&D podcast. Those were my 3. That was what I was going in. So I said, obviously, I have to be very charactery because all of those guys are very charactery. They're all great character players. And so Poppy Tea Leaf was born, and she pretty much went unchanged from the audition to actual play.
She understood the assignment.
Yes. Yeah.
So the only difference is in the audition she was a little more scampy. I didn't have a backstory of her being nobly born at that point in time, so she was a little more of like your average Joe, if you will, your average Poppy. But she came in and I gave her that kind of backstory. I felt like to kind of give some depth to the group, just so that everybody isn't coming from super similar backgrounds. And so I've really enjoyed playing with these guys. I think that, and I've talked about it in a few roundtables, but the fact that Ash took my backstory and I accidentally created the Team Mafia. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But when your DM actually takes your backstory and uses it for the first time, it can be a little like, oh, I did that. I made that thing. I created that section of the world. And the way that Ash kind of lets us create our own sections of the world within their bigger world is really great. So I've really enjoyed it.
Around episode 34, 35, the NPC Konnor the Kobold all of a sudden became a real boy.
I'm a real kobold.
And that's when we got Konnor the Kobold. Konnor, tell us about Konnor and Konnor.
So I am Konnor with a C, easily mistaken for Konnor with a K.
It's the tail.
I'm a little bit of an outlier from the rest of these people. I did not audition. Ash told me I've been friends with Ash for several years now, and
He also does all of our graphic work.
Yes.
So, like the flyers that I passed out to you guys at the beginning of this panel, this is him.
Yes, and they were like, "Oh, I'm really thinking about doing a D&D podcast," and I was like, "Cool." And they were like, "But we're holding auditions," and I was like, "Oh, okay." We want actors, and I was like, because my only acting experience was doing the crew maintenance and lighting for Horton Hears a Who in my high school production. So I was like, okay, well, I'm out of that. I'll just do some artwork for them. And then Ash came up and they were like, hey, I'm thinking about like kind of honoring what you've done for us by making an NPC. It's this cute little kobold. And I was like, heck yeah. And even better. And they're like, sarcastic little kobold. And I was like, you know me perfectly. And then just like throughout the early episodes, it just needed a part where Ash was doing a lot of the character voices for the NPCs, and Konnor actually got called into, and then...
Oh no. Johnny caught the plague.
Johnny caught the plague.
Yeah. Johnny got COVID.
Johnny
and
caught
so we
the
needed
plague.
another player.
And so
Yeah. And so Ash was like, hey, we already kind of named an NPC after you. Will you join? And I said, say less. Obviously. I hope I don't bring the production down.
Which it actually was more than that. Konnor's introduction was a lifesaver to the show. And
Yes.
we went from having 4 people out in the Caliban frontier to now 5 characters that were really melding together at that point, that I thought was really strong and created a really great party. And so I guess do we have anything else we want to say, or do we want to go ahead and offer it up to questions?
I think we've laid our baseline down. So at this point, it's kind of...
So again,
what do y'all want to know?
Who here has listened to Red Dirt D&D? Raise your hand. So we got...
Hi, friend.
That's like half the room.
I know. You all make me special.
Yay!
Okay, so who's got questions? We got a microphone up here, so if you got a question, come on up to the microphone and pick it up and ask. So that way I can have it on the...
And we will also answer questions both about Red Dirt itself, but then if you guys just have questions about doing
Podcasting.
5e podcasting,
You bet.
we're here for you guys. We have
any
2
live
years
play
of
podcast.
experience under our belts now, so come forth.
Yes. Anyway, before we do, though, how can we bring up... Can you come up here?
Oh,
for just
that
a
would be
moment?
so awesome.
Can you come up here for just a moment?
That would be so awesome. For those of us who are audio only,
Yes.
We have a very special guest, and it might be our first fan cosplay ever.
Oh,
This is a big moment for us.
This
I know.
Oh, yeah. Dad, don't leave me behind.
Oh
Yes,
my God!
We
Pictures.
Carrie, would you like to?
Can you pick up that microphone right there?
Can you pick up that microphone right there, Abby? That's awesome.
Tell us your name and who are you cosplaying as?
I'm Abby Horton, and I'm cosplaying as Poppy Tea
Woo!
I love everything about it so much.
Oh, Wildfire.
Of course.
Baby Wildfire, yay!
Go anywhere without her best buddy.
Woo!
Wildfire in the pocket.
I
right
love
there.
the touch of the flower wreath because it's something that we see
Yeah.
Poppy wear every now and then.
Abby, you look fabulous. Thank you so
I
much.
like it. I like
Thank
the
you so
ears.
much. Sorry to embarrass you.
Craft cantrip, and sometimes it's flower crowns.
That's great. Abby, thank you so much.
so
and
much.
thank you for
Thank you.
letting us embarrass you.
Let's get a picture together later.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have questions about Red Dirt DnD?
I have one other crowd
Go for it. Go for
shout
it.
out. There's more than one, but this one hasn't ever been done before. And Iron Fist back in the corner over there is the man that said to me, "Hey, look at this thing. You should audition." I was like, "No." And he was like, "What are they going to do? Say no? Audition." So shout out to, I won't give away his secret identity there, but shout out to Gio right back there.
Yay.
Yes, you know who that is. Yeah, former student. You know who that is.
The man, the myth, the legend. Without you, there would be no Mock and Stone Shaper. So, the world owes you a great debt.
Has everyone listened all the way through all the podcasts? Are they the end?
Yeah, nope, not yet. So.
Sure.
I had a question.
Just germs.
Quite a bit.
Are you still behind?
No,
Oh, no, you caught up. Okay, good. Okay. Germs is all caught up.
Germs
Pal?
number 2 fan. The number 1 goes to Andrew in the corner.
All right.
So for those who have not listened, why?
Well, if they just found out today.
That's true. That's true. And you know where to find
No
us.
way to treat your guest, Mr. Cross.
That was not rude. I was just asking a question.
I mean, yeah, it's like basically because again, we are your local answer to Critical Role. So like and we've strived to we're not quite that famous, but we're working on it, okay? And it's like
We gotta start somewhere.
Gotta start somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere.
I think that's good advice. You have to start somewhere. So if you are interested in doing a podcast, like doing the auditions or like having the vision, go ahead and jump.
Yeah.
I mean, there probably needs to be some technical aspects. I know that I'm a little bit of a podcast snob in that if the sound quality isn't good, then I just, it could be a great story. There are a couple really great Pathfinder podcasts. It's an adventure that I've DM'd before and I absolutely love, but the sound quality is just, it's like an iPhone in the middle of the table. And I just can't, it just doesn't do it for me. I tried. There are other, podcasts, Glass Cannon podcast, for example, where their audio quality is every bit as good as what Michael Cross creates. They don't have sound effects like we do. Yeah, their sound effects are not as good. Shout out to them. But
then we also have to give a shout out to Jeffrey McBride.
Yes.
We have an alliance, another dark alliance with a gentleman who has provided some amazing pieces of music for us. So we are incredibly blessed just to have, to know such talented people that can do that for us. But there are resources out there, Sirenscape. You got a whole bunch of stuff one time through like Humble Bundle.
Yeah.
Where it was just sound effects and music cues and different things that you can bring into your podcast. And, again, with the editing, somebody swings a sword, add in that sound effect,
Yeah, the biggest thing, audio is very important. Of course, obviously, storytelling is also very important. Make sure you have a good story to tell. Come on up.
Come to the mic, please.
Microphone, yeah.
So we can have
That way audio
This is the
listeners
Red
can hear
Dirt
you later.
Gospel Hour.
we have
You
over
must
here?
come down to the front of the church.
Give us your name and the next question.
My name's Alex.
Wait, hold on a second. Give me your microphone.
Hi, Alex. Welcome Welcome to our world.
Check.
Just take the microphone away from you.
Try that.
Hand him your mic. Here you go. Here, grab that one.
Well, we are recording this, Alex. So.
You're going to be on the internet.
Yay!
Quick plug. I am already on the internet.
Nice.
Hey!
We have another podcast.
That's
along with
Yay!
we're Power Word Crit.
Oh, nice.
Podcast.
Nice.
Power word crit.
I want to talk to you guys at some point.
Please do.
Please do.
That'd be great.
Discovery for us. Yeah. But anyways, but my question for you guys is, what do you guys do to promote your podcast as far as like telling people and
Great
like,
question.
getting that out there?
Hi, here's a flyer.
I just recently got promoted with no pay raise to the official promotion
Head of marketing.
Head of marketing, thank you. So, like, honestly, paper works wonders, especially if you go to these kinds of events. If you have the loudest and boisterous of you, like we have Brooke.
We call him our used car salesman.
Yeah, at any convention, because we've done a couple of other conventions around Oklahoma now, and we do always notice just a jump in our listenership. Like as soon as the event is over, like we get so many more new downloads, and it's literally just. Have you heard the good news about Red Dirt DnD?
Yes.
Here's a flyer.
Yeah.
Here's our 30-second elevator pitch.
So flyers are always good, especially at these events, word of mouth. Of you basically being like, hey, you look like you're interested in this kind of thing. Hey, have you heard about what? I've already forgot the name of your Power Word Crit. Have you heard about Power Word Crit?
Have you heard the good
I already
news about
subscribed.
Power Word Crit? Yes. And then have your 30-second elevator pitch ready to go.
Yes.
Yeah. And social media.
Social media.
We are on Twitter, Facebook. We actually do have a TikTok as well. We really haven't figured it out.
We have a TikTok. We haven't figured out TikTok. And then the other thing is like
So
somehow
true to
there's just
theme.
like 2 random Red Dirt D&D fan accounts on TikTok that we don't know where those came from.
They also haven't posted.
They haven't posted anything, so we're like, oh, okay.
They messaged me.
Yeah, social media would be your best friend. We're going to be looking into different type of like maybe like paid advertisements, as well as just networking with people. Obviously, you can network with us. We do a lot of we do like a lot of ads for like Fool's Quest, all those different kinds of people. Yeah, go for it.
or just come talk to us like after this panel is over.
Hand it back over.
Like
Yeah, that's fine.
we'll get you hooked up.
Yes.
We'll get you hooked
We
up.
got this one figured out.
But you, my dear, come forward. You're going to, like I said,
Yay.
this is the gospel hour. So
So cute.
Those
Thank
are
you.
cute.
They were my moms. Yeah.
Tell us who you are. And
I'm Rachel, and I wanted to say another part of the getting the word out is I took Mr. Bullock's English class my senior year, and one of the assignments we did was a modern epic.
yes.
And the assignment was to get like a podcast and evaluate it as a modern epic. And he plugged Red Dirt D&D as one of those.
I did. We had several examples. There were
Yeah.
5 or 6, but the one in the boldest print was happening.
Nice.
And I didn't know that it was your podcast until like after I graduated. And I followed you on Twitter. I had no idea.
The name at the beginning.
I didn't choose that podcast. I chose because I didn't know.
Hold on. I've got to call the school and make a grade adjustment. Hold on.
But that's how I found out about the podcast.
It's awesome.
But I knew it was yours
Yeah.
until after I graduated. So
Awesome.
yeah, no, it's just
we knew.
Friends, family, colleagues. Johnny, you have tons of people at work.
Yeah, a lot of people at work slowly started getting. It was just crazy. Over a few-year period, someone just walked in one day and said, "Hey, I thought about playing this game called Magic the Gathering. You ever heard of it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then my pocketbook like hit me in the ribs. It was like, "You're supposed to forget me."
Stop.
So and then you know a little bit of time goes by and it's like, "Hey, this." What about D&D? Isn't that cool? And then a little bit, and then I fell into this, and I was like, "Hey, all of y'all who keep talking about this like cool fantasy stuff, I have people who've never played D&D before. I mean, you'll be amazed at the people who are like, I want to support you, so I'm going to listen to it, and then their whole family ends up listening. There's a guy who listens in the car, and his daughter heard it on a road trip and was like, "Whoa, stop this! This is cool. I want to go back to like the first episode and start over from the beginning." And so now she listens, and she's told her friends about it. And it just it just happens. Are y'all local? Y'all live? Yeah.
Nice.
Let's be friends.
Podcast.
Yeah.
I already got you. I already got you on Google. So
No, Power Word
we'll
Crit is an
talk
actual
afterwards.
play RPG podcast with cats, kobolds, and critical hits. I'm in.
Kobolds, definitely.
I'm sold.
Yeah,
We're sold.
the great thing about the Red Dirt D&D podcast is if you do go back all the way to the beginning, our episodes are no longer than 40 minutes. They're not
Except the pilot.
except the pilot. But it's because of the pilot. Pilots are always longer. But so, it's not 4 or 5 hours long per episode. So actually catching up is very easy. We got a lot of people who go all the way back to the pilot and we'll just listen straight through.
Get like a really long, like a really big download day, and it's because somebody's going back to the beginning and like listening to the entire thing, and it just floors us.
If you got a
every
long
single
road
time.
trip, it's perfect. So a lot of people will listen.
Yeah, and that was intentionally by design. So one of the things like about podcasting, especially if you're thinking about doing a podcast, you really have to think about your format, right? Because everyone kind of holds up these 4-hour long epic D&D sessions every single week.
they're terrible. No one listens to them.
That for a lot of
easy to
listeners
get
can
behind.
be exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. And again, they're great. Like, those podcasts that do it, who have become famous for it, they're great at what they do. But you got to find a way to like stand out. And like Red Dirt's thing is, one of our things is that we are easily bingeable.
Right.
And we did that by design. Like we want to be easily bingeable because we respect your time. We know you're busy. And also too, if you want to go back to the very beginning, you don't have as much, like we have 100 episodes now times 30 minutes per episode. Kimberly?
It's go to my
Kimberly's
wife,
our
the
math
teacher.
person.
Right, she maths for me. So 30 minutes an episode, 100 episodes. That's what, 300 minutes?
It's quite a bit. Plus, of course, we got our roundtables
Divide
and
that by
kind of we do
60,
things like this. But also, I'm a radio guy. I work at KOSU Radio, and I'm the morning edition host. And when you've been raised in radio for as long as I have, one of the things is that a commute time is typically 20 minutes. And that's the average person's commute time is 20 minutes. And what I wanted to do was create a drive time commute to where going to work and going home, you should be able to listen to our entire show in that one day. So that's why it was like 40 minutes. We didn't want to go over. Some of them are a little bit shorter, depending on how much of this stuff I have to cut out of these people.
Motion to our side of the table. I am a fan.
I'm disappointed we
Because
have
he
not
wasn't
broken
going
out.
to gesture to Ash's side.
We have not broken out in song yet, Brooke. We're failing. We're falling behind.
But of course, then about episode 50, I decided to take all of this stuff that I was cutting out because I just feel like
It's comedy gold.
It
That's
is.
hilarious.
Yes.
We are very hilarious.
And I was leaving those in. If they were really funny, I'm like, I've got to leave them in. But then I realized they weren't helping much for the story. So editing is a big part of RPG to us. RPG podcasting is edit out the things that don't really fit for your story. I kept them in because they were hilarious. Then about episode 50, I realized, I could still take them out, throw them on the end to what we call the outtakes. And
You hear that record scratch and you know what's coming.
you get to the now it's so funny because, and I've heard this from listeners, that when they hear like our round table and it has our theme music at the very end of it, and they don't hear the record scratch, it's like, well, where's the record? But you
I was just going to bring up the Pavlov's dog of that, right?
It's-
I want it now. It's like, I need it.
But that way people can realize that we are funny people. We're not all serious and depressing. It is funny. And that's because that's typical. If you guys, how many people actually play D&D in here? See there?
Yes.
You guys.
Go back, minions. See you.
And so you understand that when you're at a table, especially if there's a serious moment, there's something dramatic going on, you deflect with humor.
Yes.
We are no different. And we've gone through tragic
There are a
moments.
few very, very serious scenes where us as players to deal with the panic and the oncoming depression deflected with humor, and it was tonally would have ruined it for the listeners.
Yeah.
And so Michael was able to take those out, and he even held on to them for a couple of episodes because we knew that these few episodes were going to be very somber. And so when those kind of came back in, it was very nice. But it's you have to understand kind of from the listener's point of view, the tone of everything. And Michael is really great about that. And we have gotten better, I think, as players to also kind of, if we have a good joke, hold on to it, count to 2, and then tell the good jokes to give Michael a nice clean break.
Yes. And I also didn't want to ruin that moment because that is a real moment at any table. That feeling that this is all too serious. I've got to make a joke about it. I've got to quote a Disney film about it. I've got to do something like that. I didn't want to rob them of that. Say, oh, you got to be serious the entire show. So giving the outtakes, I think, is allowed for them to still be funny, to have because it's a break for us as well. When it gets serious.
It also shows like how much you've developed, Michael, as you've been editing.
That's true.
Kind of goes to like the longer you do something, the better you will get at it.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, everybody starts somewhere. You don't have to have your own Michael Cross who runs his own soundboard. You can literally start anywhere. Mm-hmm. Even if it is on an iPhone.
It is, and also
people will still listen. Even if it's 2 listeners at first, for a few weeks or a few months, that is still 2 people.
Those 2 people will tell 2 people who will tell 2 people, and then it will grow exponentially.
They'll tell 2 friends who will tell 2 friends.
I don't have 2 friends.
And so on. Yeah, and that's, we've been around for 2 years, coming up on July 18th. We're very excited about our 2-year
Cotton anniversary.
And that did not happen. It obviously didn't happen overnight. It happened over 2 years. But
overnight success in 3 years.
Yeah, we have been growing. We are very close to 50,000 downloads, which is just amazing.
That's you guys. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And it's because of listeners like you that are also going out and letting people know that we're doing this. It's also how we've grown. You were talking about a little bit of advertising, doing other things. We have a show on Twitch, A&M Talk DnD, every Tuesday on Twitch. It's the Red Dirt, twitch.tv/Red Dirt DnD. We have 2 shows on YouTube. We have Plausible Deniability with Johnny, Brooke, and I every other Thursday. That's
sometimes
live.
Grog nerds.
As long as we're old people and we need our rest.
It's so great.
Yeah, they're old and I help them out. It's great.
Right. And then we have Secrets of Monster Island, which my son is the dungeon master for that show.
Stand up, Aiden.
Andrew. Yeah, there's
Andrew who
Another DM in Red Dirt.
Andrew, who just left. He is one of our other players. I'm one of the players. If you see Mark Coffrin running around, he's doing the art auction later tonight. He's one of our other players. He's hilarious. Now, for that, if you get a chance, Secrets of Monster Island, we're only on episode 22. It just dropped. So we're brand new on that. And it still has music and sound effects, just like your Red Dirt D&D. The only difference is we don't edit it. I take 1 hour of a show, of an episode, and it crunches down to about 30 minutes once I take out a lot of the humor. I'm sorry. A lot of the kind of giving about. And also, if you've noticed, we're incredible at math on that because they'll roll it and immediately know the answer. I got to, roll a dice. I got a 27. I got a 3.
Michael never has to edit out 30 minutes of me finding language on a spell because I didn't look it up.
That's right. So all that stuff gets edited
rules
out.
Talk.
Now, you can't do that on video. And the reason because, if you guys are doing anything, any RPG on video, on YouTube, it's really good idea not to edit out that stuff because that gets what we call a jump cut. And you'll see it especially on YouTube where someone has edited out something and all of a sudden their body just jerks. It's like they magically appeared in a different space and time. I think personally, because again, my background in a little bit of video work, it looks horrible. So if you're doing video, keep that in. But you can easily take that video once you've recorded it, put in music, put in sound effects. You can do all these kinds of things to make the magic of the listener, the viewer, be a part of what's going on in your world. It just brings them into your game. And I think it's very important. But Secrets of Monster Island every Monday, Plausible Deniability every other Thursday at youtube.com/c/Red Dirt DnD. Yes, come on up.
Come on
Yay!
up.
Joe.
Oh, that one right there.
There we go. Yay!
We got it working, supposedly.
Yes.
My name is Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Any suggestions for improving your improv skills?
Oh, that's a great
Yes, and
It's not two things that we have worked on really hard over the last 2 years, and you can tell if you listen closely enough, you can kind of tell how we've gotten better at it. And I would say in the last probably 8 months, we've also gotten really good at remembering that Michael is good at what he does. And so we're able to say, wait, Michael, give me another shot at saying that thing. Or I need a minute to process. Or, hey, off mic. What are you trying to do, Johnny? Because I have no idea.
You notice he pointed out right at Johnny. Johnny, what the
One
heck
time.
are you thinking?
Okay, 3 times.
3 times.
Poppy and Zonomus have a connection where they know what's going on with each other. Kiri and Johnny don't have that. So sometimes I can generally guess what he's doing, but sometimes I cannot.
Yeah.
And so I think the idea of yes and, so we're not shooting each other down. We're saying
100%.
We are saying, I understand that you have added this to this thing. Listen, I said we learned over time. We are adding to the thing, and I have had to do a lot of practice, and you're not always good at it, and a lot of things. But this is also a great thing for me to talk about because I don't know my character as well as I pretend I do, and she surprises me quite a bit on how she feels about things or how she acts about things. So I think it's really understanding a character and letting the character kind of voice, for me at least, has really helped my improv as well. Yeah. And listening to other people when they point out, hey, Poppy's really the Captain America of this group. Because she is. And, or, when Ash texts me while I'm at work, hey, I am suspicious about Poppy's perception of her gender. And I'm like, that's a great thing to point out. I hadn't noticed that before.
That's a good question, Ash. So one of the things I will also say, Joe, is that so one of the first books that I assigned to these people to read, and I'll probably have to go double check the author, but literally there's a book called Long Form Improv. So most improv that people are used to is short form improv, right? They're used to that whole, I'm going to very quickly create a character and we're just going to do a short little funny scene like, whose line is it anyway, right? Long form improv is a style of improv that focuses on keeping the same character over a longer period of time. And so basically I assigned that book to them to here, study this because this is what we're wanting to do. In this long form improv book, one of the things that he points out is the goal of any good improv scene and of any good, whatever you got going on. It's about conflict between the characters. If the characters don't have a conflict, but between the actors, it has to be a compromise of, we talk a lot about the yes and, but we don't talk a lot about the concept of endowing. So if I endow you with a trait in improv, you have the choice of either to accept that trait and run with it or throw it away. And so it's the whole concept of if I tell you, hey, I met with your father yesterday, the blacksmith. We had a conversation. So and it's I've put the ball in your court that you can talk about your father and talk about the fact that he's a blacksmith, and you can tell me, oh yeah, the projects and da 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 da.
I don't want to talk about that.
My father.
My father is dead to me, and you move on. And you move on. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you start moving on. So it's a building onto the whole concept of yes and that's the thing we always talk about. I say yes to the endowment. And then I build upon the endowment, and then you throw an endowment onto me, and we just keep going back and forth like ping pong match.
And it builds this whole world around.
A really interesting way of looking at it is instead of yes and, it's yes here. It's so you're saying something to me, and I'm receiving it yes, and then the thing I'm saying next is giving it back to you here. Now you comment on this.
Yeah.
So it's sort of if you ever sit around a group of people where you've done these, someone says once upon a time, and the next person goes, and the next person goes. You're giving each other something to talk about. Yeah. And that's the and part of the yes and. It's yes, it's more yes here.
I don't have as much experience in actual improv as much as some of the other people on that side, but my understanding of yes and is that it doesn't mean that you can't ever say no.
Right.
It means
100%.
that you can say no, but you have to build on why you're saying no.
Still take that and go.
Yeah, still take that and go. Like what Ash just kind of demonstrated with, you could also be oh, I don't like my father anymore. Why did you talk to him? Or My father's not the blacksmith. Who were you talking to? Are you okay?
What did you think of that, Carrie? You should have been what? No, that father doesn't run the team off. Yeah.
Yeah, and Joe, I would also say the other big thing is just do it. The more you do it, the easier it gets. It's really hard, especially because you're doing it in front of an audience. You get a little bit nervous. And it just takes a little bit of time to build those improv skills. And so the more you do it, the better you're going to get. That's what I would say on that. We're actually coming close to the end of the time now. Does anyone have any other questions?
Great questions so far. Right over here.
So this is Susan.
Hi, Susan.
I play Kayla in the Power Word Crit podcast. That
I
Andrew
hear she's
brought
a
up.
battle nun.
Yep, and my character
That's
is a
so
battle
awesome.
nun.
Nice.
Yep.
I'm 100% in.
That's a good question. No, the question was what challenges have you run into as a podcast, but also as individual players?
The biggest thing is actually audio. I wanted to make sure that when we've got audio that we're all talking. And the biggest problem I have is these two sit right next to each other on what we call lav mics. Lav mics, of course, pinned to your shirt or to your lapel. It's called lapel mics. And when these two talk to each other, they talk like this. They talk really.
They lean into each other,
and they get into this character, which is great. But when I'm trying to edit the audio and make sure everybody is balanced out correctly, that's really hard. So that's one of the. And so, but I'm putting them on lapel mics because these two will not stay on their microphones when they're done.
The rest of us will actually kind of like, I'm talking. Let's lean into the mic.
The first few episodes, Kiri had to learn to face forward when she's talking. As a player,
we were joking that we were gonna put our minis on the mic stand so that we were staring. It's we're gonna stare into the face of our miniature while we are recording.
Yeah. As a player, I think, and if you're caught up on the podcast, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. I have to trust my character with Johnny a lot, and the creation of the character, the use of the character, the arc of the character, as much as it is in my hands, it is also in his hands. And so it took us a while to get to that point, right? I also 100% always trust Ash with my character. And we joke that, I gave Ash this nice backstory about my dad.
Wrote me a blank check.
And then Ash said, okay, that's what Poppy knows. And created a whole separate evil T empire, which I hope comes back around at some point in time. We'll see. But it is trusting each other as players, and that took a while. And we learn what each character does. We were joking about at the last session that we can always rely on Brooke to give us the recap of the battle we just had. Yeah. Because Makrin will go up and be like, hey, that was a really cool thing you just did. Tell me more about that new power you got.
That was really amazing.
We can always trust Brooke to give us that post-battle wrap-up. We can always trust Konnor.
You got to share the spotlight, right? You got to give people a chance to talk about it.
We can always trust Konnor to be like, hey, we've been here for a few days.
Yeah, can we leave?
Can we go now?
Why are we still here?
We've got to actually wrap this up because there's another group coming in.
And we want to be respectful of our fellow
That was very well timed.
So what we want to do is want to thank everybody for coming.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Make sure you come. We come by, have a table in the game room, and so come by and say hi to us. Look us up if you haven't listened to Red Dirt DnD yet. Do look us up wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on kosu.org. You can actually find us on NPR's podcast directory. We're the only
actual play 5e Dungeons & Dragons podcast on NPR.
Yeah.
Stick that in your hat.
Thank you guys for being here so much.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great time. Enjoy SoonerCon.